Hey everyone, today's episode, Chris and I are talking all about our biggest takeaways from the Contractor Sales Academy event, and it all comes down to the C word.
Community.
There you go. Hey everyone, welcome back to Contractor Growth Network. I'm Logan.
And I'm Chris Livingston.
And today what we're talking about is Chris and I just went down to the Contractor Sales Academy event in Destin, Florida. So we're just essentially giving you our big overview recap of what we took away, what we learned, what we thought of it. Is that cool?
I'm excited for it.
So Chris, this is your first event. I've probably been to 4 or 5 at this point. What are your thoughts?
Just overall?
Yeah.
I think it was a necessary, part of the process. I think that it was very mindset driven. It was also good just to kind of get away, to reset. I think that being able to, value and invest in your own mindset and value and invest in your own time and your own growth is super important for your overall success.
How'd you come up with that conclusion?
That I think that is valuable.
Yeah.
Because it works for me and it works for everybody else that I've seen that's being successful around me.
And for the people that are not experiencing success, why do you think that is?
I think that it's sometimes the way of thinking, right? So it's not always just some silver bullet. I mean, honestly, it's never a silver bullet, situation, but it's a way of thinking. It's okay, I've got to think differently in order for this to happen. I can't make excuses for this. I can't just allow this to happen to me. I need to pivot and move. Like if you keep getting swung on, keep getting hit in the face, you got to change the idea that, hey, I can take a step back and move so that I'm not getting hit in the face. I can continue to move forward.
And what percentage of people, entrepreneurs, contractors that you talk to have that mentality?
Not enough.
Give me a number.
I don't think I can actually give you one. Maybe I'd say 30% of people that I talk to understand that they're running a business and not just being a tradesman anymore, that they recognize that they can't just be great at being a tradesman. They can't just be great at, with their hands. They have to also understand that running a business is what they're doing. And so if I hear people say stuff like, oh, I'm only word of mouth, and they're proud of that, for the most part, that's not a badge of honor to have. It's like, well, okay, how are you scaling that situation if you're only word of mouth? Okay.
Same percentage of people. How many do you think actually want to scale the business?
That's hard. You say, and the reason why I say that's hard to answer is because I think what happens is very much in that mindset frame. I think that what happens is they've done it for so long, they think that that's something they can do. So maybe sure, they would love to do it if they thought that was a possibility for them. I think many of them don't even know that's a possibility that they have.
Why? Because
once again, mindset. They've encountered the situation of, hey, I have not been able to grow. I've been around for, once again, the badge of honor is I've been in business for 15 years. I've been in business for 20 years. I know what I'm doing. Like that's, it should be great that you're in business for this long, but it's not great that if you're saying that as a defense to not willing and wanting to learn more.
So when they say it, what do you think they actually mean deep down?
When they say what?
When they say, well, I'm just referral only.
Well, I think that, that's a, maybe a cocky move or maybe it's a ignorant move to say, hey, I don't need to do anything else. But it's like, okay, but what are you being successful in your business? Are you actually taking home real money? Are you growing? Are you able to take care of more employees? Are you stepping away from your business? Because if you're only referral only, then you should legitimately be sitting on a beach somewhere, just letting the referrals come in. If you're just going to allow for your referral system to be the only thing that's going to drive your business.
And with people that say that, what do you think is the missing link?
That there's an opportunity to get referral type clients. And you've got to seriously just think about it. Just think about, okay, why do people refer me out? All right. I have a clear understanding why they refer me out. They like this, they like this, they like this. Okay, great. How can I make sure that there's more people out there that know those things about me? And if I do that, then I can get referral-esque type clients as well, because I'm not dependent on someone else, doing this for me. I'm not I used this analogy the other day with a team, and it's the whole idea of the hunting analogy, right? If we're a village and we've got to eat, right? We're a village and we got to eat and we want to grow as a village. All right. There are times in which we're going to hunt. There are times in which we're also going to farm. We're going to farm and hunt at the exact same time. But if we were referral only, that means that we are reliant on someone coming to the village every once in a while and throwing us some meat. But how we're going to grow if that's the only way we're ever that's going to happen. We're being reliant on someone else coming to our village and throwing. So if Home Advisor is my only way that I can make money, then I'm relying on someone else coming to me to throw me some meat. If referrals are the only way that I can generate leads, then I'm relying on someone else throwing me meat. Why am I not farming myself? Why am I not sharpening my own arrows so that I can understand how to hunt as well? So I can be able to, when days like Home Advisor, they miss their run to my village and they don't get to be able to show me, there's any meat available, or when the leads dry up because the people that were referring me out, something happens, they're not people who don't have the pleasure of knowing people that I've worked with are still out there looking to buy. Why do I not let those people be my customer as well?
Okay. So when does somebody decide to make a change?
Pain.
In what way?
I think that it's the pain of not being successful, the pain of dealing with something too long. Hey, there's got to be a better option. And I think that the ones who change their mindset oftentimes recognize that they don't have to always let the pain be there. I got to know the stove is hot, just not from just touching it.
So when you said the pain of not being successful, how do you think a lot of people define success?
I think the easy answer is probably money. Maybe the easy answer is probably saying I own a business. I think the easy answer is probably saying, I don't know, I got $1 million company. Not talking about how much money they bring home, but they're just talking about the company itself is $1 million. I think that's how they define success.
Okay. Would you call those vanity metrics, or would you call those just how they define it?
I don't know. I mean, I think that if outwardly it's maybe you can say it's vain. I mean, I don't think it's a great way to define success, because I think success looks like I'm able to spend time with my family. Like I'm able to do things that I want to. I'm able to go to my kids' t-ball games. I'm able to invest in counseling so that I can have a better relationship with my wife. I'm able to, reach out to a loved one who have had a burdened relationship with, because I have the capacity to do it. I'm not bogged down by other things. I'm able to have a situation. Success for me is going to be when my child, hits a tree in his car. He's going to be able to come to me and let me know, hey, I hit a tree, and it's not going to be a big deal because he knows that I love him. He knows that we have the resources to take care of it, and we're going to be okay. That's what success looks like for me.
And the people that went down to the CSA event, what percentage of those people do you think are looking for exactly what you just talked about?
I think all of them, because they have decided to invest into it. It's not just something where it's like, oh, well, yeah, this could be cool. This may not happen to me, but they decided to actually put skin in the game, actually invest their time, invest financially, so they can be able to actually, see what success looks like for other people and challenge their mindset. Challenge, can they think and grow in a different way?
So there's 15 million contractors out there in the US. If all 15 million of them just allow themselves to, have their mindset challenged a little bit, what do you think the industry would look like?
It would be a lot. It's like when you think of the real estate agent, you think of like the attractive guy, the attractive girl. Like it's such a, it looks like such a sexy industry, right? I think contracting will be such a sexier industry. Sadly, I think that if the way the idea sometimes is, you hear those things like chucking a truck. I don't know a equivalent analogy to a real estate agent as chucking the truck. I don't hear the analogies of a real estate agent, smoking a cigarette and throwing it out in your front yard. I hear the real estate agent driving up in an Audi in some nice clothes, being able to give you the dream home that you've always wanted. That's not the same situation I hear. It doesn't matter about the fact that you have to be a tradesman and get a little dirty to get the job done. I think that the overall feeling for the industry would change, not only inside, which I think has to happen first, but then also outwardly looking at it. I think that people would say this is a lot more respectful, something that, hey, I want my kids to grow up and do this as well.
What percentage of contractors do you think would agree with that statement that you just said?
That what part of it?
Just that if they were to be challenged, that the industry as a whole would look completely different. It would be a much higher level of how the public view them.
What percentage of them do I think that would agree with that?
Yeah.
I want to say that I mean, I don't know, man. I want to say that all of them would agree that it would be better, but I don't think that they're even willing to change a mindset or to challenge it, because it's change. It's something that, you're around everybody else. It's very simple. It's like raising prices, or it's very simple about, not going out to people's house unless you're picking up a check. Like, people still out there think that that's impossible. People still think that there's ways for you not to have to go to someone's house unless you're picking up a check. People still believe that I can't raise my prices, not in my neighborhood, not in my area. Oh, yeah, that's great on this podcast, but it doesn't work in my area. I can't do it. They still believe that they can't.
So when will they make the change?
Either they're going to die or the pain's going to get great enough.
And what's the scenario where the pain gets great enough?
When they decide to look at themselves in the mirror one day and realize, like, what are they doing with their life right now?
So what you're saying is the pain is there. They're just essentially ignorant to their own pain.
I think that sometimes you've got to get, it's got to be a knee-jerking reaction situation. You got to have enough is enough. It's got to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. It's got to be, your wife yells at you because you're missing another, extracurricular activity for your child. You're frustrated in the truck because you just ran out to someone's house because you believed without any doubt at all this person's going to go forward with you, but legitimately they're just like everybody else in the sense of, hey, I'm not going. They led you astray because you forget that buyers are liars. Myself included. We all do it, and you think they're going to go forward with you, and they don't.
So it's circumstantial, meaning your circumstances have to change somehow for that straw that breaks the camel's back to happen.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to, but I think for many people it does. I think mindset wise, you can try to be proactive and not allow it have to be like excruciating pain for you to make the change. But I think it's because you're following a process. But yeah, I think a lot of times it is circumstantial.
So it's like, let's think about losing weight, right? What typically happens in someone's world that they decide, okay, I'm going to lose weight?
Either some big health scare, maybe someone around them dies. They've got some event coming up in the sense of, hey, I'm going to see, for me, like I got a baby on the way. You think to yourself, okay, I'm going to be taking, pictures and things like that, or I'm going to be the center of attention at a baby shower. Do I want to go there looking fat? Like, no. So I think that you got some event coming up, or you got something,
So it's still circumstantial. So something about the circumstances have to change for you to decide to lose that weight.
For many people, and myself sometimes included, yes.
Okay, that's fair. So do you think there's a way to change the circumstances for contractors to then make this happen faster?
Yeah.
What?
Stop living in this this fleeting bubble of where we're in right now, where everyone's spending money in the contracting world. I think that people are going to realize sometime very soon that, damn, during that time where it was so robust, where everybody was busy, I should have been building out my systems and process and my branding so that I can be able to hunt on my own.
Yeah, but most people say, well, I don't have the time to build this out.
You got to make time. You got to prioritize the things that are important for you. Like, I think that's just, that's honestly just an excuse. Because yes, and you have to think about what you're doing right now. Where are you wasting time at? What are you wasting time in doing? What could you be better spending your time doing?
I just talked to Jeremy, and Jeremy's one of our sales guys. And I asked him, I said, for all those people that say they don't have time, what percentage of those people do you think spend at least an hour a day on Facebook? I'll ask you the same question, Chris. What do you think?
75 at least.
Yeah. So when they have no time, yet they're on Facebook, what are they actually saying?
Well, I don't prioritize it. Like it's not as valuable to me as it needs to be. Because straight up, if you're on Facebook, like, yeah, if you're on Facebook posting towards your business, yeah, that's great. But if you're just aimlessly on it, then what's the value of that? Especially if I have, like, if there's a burning fire and I'm on Facebook, I mean, why am I not putting the fire out? It's pretty simple.
So going back to the CSA event, do you remember what percentage Marcus Sheridan talked about of people that buy before they even talk to a salesman?
I think it was 75% or something like that.
80%. 80% of people have mentally bought before they ever talk to a salesman. So to you, Chris, when you hear that, what are your thoughts?
Then you better be out there doing a lot of the selling before people even talk to you.
And how can you do that?
I mean, simple enough. It's marketing. It's having a brand. It's having systems in place to be able to go out there and find your customers as well. Answer the questions that they have questions to. If they want to know how this stuff works, if they want to know, what's the timeline on this, or how much this stuff costs, or can you solve their problem? Be out there answering those questions for them.
Do you know what a zone of genius is?
Like your area that you are really, really good at?
Yeah. What's your zone of genius, Chris?
I think selling. I think caring and inspiring. I think, just being me, but that's kind of a generic answer, but being myself.
Okay. Let's take that one off the table because everybody can say that one.
Okay.
So it's selling and you said inspiring?
Selling, inspiring, and like relationship building.
Okay, cool. So if that's your zone of genius, when you're here at CGN, how many blogs do you write?
None.
Okay. How many of these EPP websites do you build?
0.
Okay. How much are you posting on CGN's Facebook?
I'm not at all.
Okay. So why not?
Well, to answer your question, it's probably because I'm not my zone of genius. My time is going to be best spent, building relationships and bringing revenue in for this company.
Okay. Most people listen to this podcast. What do you think their zone of genius is?
Being in the field?
Probably. So does that mean that the other things are able to be stopped?
What are you saying? Like
Posting, doing the marketing, doing the sales?
No, you can still do them. But if your zone of genius is in the field, you're probably going to go back to I resort back to the things that are easier for me. So I spend more time doing things like selling.
Okay. And the people that are listening to this, what do you think happens when they get stressed?
They go back to what's simple for them.
Which is?
Hey, I just got to figure it out, and I'm just going to, I'm going to stay in the business. Hey, I'm prideful, and I'm going to be the one actually, laying this tile. I'm going to be the one that's actually building these trusts. I'm going to be the one that's actually doing this versus me saying, hey, I'm going to spend some time, energy, and effort, money, resources to find somebody that's going to do this so I can step away. And how can I do that? Well, first and foremost, people say that a lot of times money's the root of all evil. I don't agree with that. I think money solves a lot of problems. It doesn't solve all problems, but it's a lot easier to solve problems with money. So if you sell more, if you have more income coming in, if you have better margins, then you can do a lot of things to grow, a lot of things to be able to take those things off your plate. Like, hey, I got somebody out there that's posting for me because I know I got to do it. I got somebody out there that's doing the selling for me because I know I got to do it. Somebody's writing my blogs for me because I know someone's got to do it. I'd much rather spend time with my family than 2 hours writing a blog. That to me is, I don't care to do it. It not only does I don't care to do it, but I'm not being resourceful with my time. I'm not respecting my family enough to care about them. Like if you should be putting a blog up twice a month and it takes you 2.5 hours to do that, and that's 5 hours of your time, and you legitimately tell me that you have no time to do the things that are super important to you, then how can I make that 5 hours of time go away? How can I gain that back so that I can be able to spend that somewhere where I actually need to? And for me, oftentimes that's the family.
What do you think, if you brought that up to everybody, what do you think the rebuttal would be?
It's easy to say I don't have the money, I guess. I don't know. I think that it's just, it's an excuse. It's succumbing to the problem saying, oh, I can't do that versus, well, let me figure out how I can do that for myself.
Okay. What percentage of people do you think actually want their problem solved?
By their actions, very few.
Okay. Which is realistically, your actions are just indicative of what you're thinking or what you're actually believing.
Yeah.
So if your actions are, like, let's say in your truck, right? If you want to get to the job site and you get 2 flat tires, what do you think you're going to do?
Yeah, I'm going to work at all.
You think if you had to get to the job site or you really want to get to the job site, you figure out a way to get there?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you really wanted to do the blogs or you really want to do this and you didn't have the money to do it, you think you could figure out a way?
100%.
So do you think most people actually want their problem solved?
No, I think it feels good to say that you do.
Yeah.
You don't feel irresponsible, but you are.
It's weight loss is in my mind is the easiest thing here because it's so similar. I bet every single person listening to this podcast right now would love to lose a little bit of weight, add on a little bit of muscle, eat a little bit cleaner. But the amount of people that actually do it is very slim because it's not that much of a pain. And it's more of a, you say it. And the thing is a lot of people, people just love complaining. Like that's the big thing, right? When it's a nice day out, how long of a conversation is it typically if we talk about the nice day?
Oh, hey, it's nice out here now.
Yeah, it's great. Versus, Chris, can you believe how rainy it is out there? And then that's like a 5-minute conversation about, we go back and forth, just, it's a dick measuring contest of who's been in more rain. So people love the negatives, but when it comes to the positives, people hate talking about that shit because it's not as fun. That's why the news, how much good news do you see on the news?
It's probably 20-25% of the entire news.
If that. And they only do that because otherwise it'd be so negative, like it'd be terrible. But people love listening to the negatives, which is why it's so cool at the CSA event. Because we were doing all the interviews of people, hey, what'd you think? What made you come here? What'd you get out of it? The number one word that I heard was the C word. Community. Aaron poked his head up on that one. He was curious if I was going to say it. Community. Being around other people. And that's the issue, is that a lot of people, they just hang around others that are in their similar situation or worse. It's like, Chris, like, you're not that attractive of a guy, so what do? You stand in between two other people.
I hang out with you all the time.
Yeah.
So I look better.
You hang around more unattractive people.
Yeah, like you.
So you look good.
Yeah.
So that's essentially what most people, I think, end up doing is they'd rather be a big fish in a cesspool, because at least you're a big fish in a cesspool, versus a small fish in a big pond.
When I was at the CSA event, I remember conversations of people just saying, hey, man, I don't open up enough to my, to my spouse. I don't have these conversations with my employees. I'm not thinking in this way. I'm not doing this right now. It wasn't like, oh, you can't do that. It was simply like, hey, I'm not doing this. I need to change. I need to have more meaningful conversations with people around me. I need to get better at selling. I need to have a sales process. Hey, you know what? I've been in CSA for this period of time. I need to actually hone in on these things, and I need to actually role play. You know how many times I've heard people say that, hey, I just need to do the basics? Talking to your dad, he said he went to fat camp, and he said he came back, and the biggest thing he learned was to eat right and exercise.
Yeah, imagine spending $5,000 a week to go and hear that.
Because a lot of the things are basic. A lot of things are effort. A lot of things are effort and also mindset so that I can be efficient with my efforts. It's not just about me putting my head down and grinding. When I got to pick my head up, look what's around me, and figure out how I can use the resources around me to do this a lot faster and a lot more effectively.
Which comes back to how resourceful are you? When push comes to shove and you have to make a change, you'll make the change. But a lot of times, this is something we talked about yesterday, was most contractors, because they have this underdog mentality. Most people have this. It's not just contractors, but we're talking to contractors, so it makes sense. They have this underdog mentality where the only way that you ever get something done is when you're the underdog. So it's this sabotaging move where when stuff starts to go right and you make a bunch of sales, guess what most people do?
I don't know. You tell me.
They find a way to sabotage themselves. They step off the gas because the only position that they're comfortable in is the one where their back is against the wall. So instead of saying, great, we have this domino effect that it's going well and getting better, and then right before the next domino is about to fall, you go, wow, why would I be here? Maybe it's imposter, which is I don't deserve to be here. And because of that, you self-sabotage. But a lot of times it's your motivation is so ingrained into, it's a fear-based motivation. If I don't make these sales, then I will go bankrupt. If I can't collect this invoice on time, then my family won't be able to eat. But when those problems go away and you're so used to that, then you now have to find a new motivation, because otherwise you will continuously put your back against the wall to make sure you actually get stuff done. But by putting your back against the wall, you're now risking everything that you're working for at the same time. Does that make sense?
It does. What would you say your biggest takeaway was from the CSA event? Especially someone who's gone there a couple times, has heard a lot of the same things again. everyone I talked to that had gone several times was still bright-eyed and understanding of, hey, there's a lot more that I got to learn.
So my biggest thing is, my takeaway from all of this is pretty self-serving, is that I'm doing the right stuff, because I don't go to these events once every X amount of months. I'm in groups that are literally, they teach the similar stuff. And it's funny because it's not contractor specific stuff.
So you're saying that you are, I mean, how many events do you go to like this? So I went one with you. When was that? We went to one in January. In January. I
go to a quarterly one.
So you went to one in April, right?
Yep. But I also sit in because they have a monthly all day one. I sit in on that. And then during that time, like that's the biggest thing is a lot of people go to these events to get re-energized. But in between these events, they don't do anything. They don't continue with the good beneficial stuff. They listen to it, they get all fired up, and they go home and they change nothing because they're now no longer immersed in this environment. So the difference is when I go to these quarterly events, well, in between the quarterly events, I go to the monthly webinars. And in between the monthly webinars, I show up for the weekly ones. And in between the weekly ones, I listen to the podcast. So essentially, I'm never outside of this realm.
Yeah.
So I literally live in it. And because of that, every day it's front and center. But when it's no longer front and center, that's when you forget about it. If you're overweight, and once a quarter you went to this quote unquote, health clinic or health camp that my dad went to, but still, once a month, you sat in on one of the health clinic's, webinars. And then every week you listen to something, and then on the daily, you
interact with
somebody
who's also in the group,
and you listen to like their podcast. What's the likelihood that you're going to slip between the quarterly camps?
Yeah, I mean, it's far
minimal.
Less, yeah, I mean, while I'm hearing this right now, I'm thinking to myself, like, in the very beginning, I have a life coach, and I'm doing 45 minutes every 14 days. So every 14, 15 days, a part of me feels like right now, there's a lot of value in me doing 30 minutes with them every 10 days. And I think it's individual to you, but I think that having that exposure is so important.
So, guys, I'm going to ask you a favor right now, and you're going to do this not for us, but because there's somebody else out there. There's somebody, because you're listening to this right now, there's somebody else out there, there is in your world. You may or may not know it, but there's some other business owner or contractor that's literally dealing with this right now, where a lot of times they just don't know what else is out there. I truly believe that if every single person had the same opportunity to go, hey, look, if you get wealthy, this is what your life would look like, the amount of people that push for that would skyrocket. So if you're listening to this right now, you will literally help somebody out big time. Text them a link to this podcast. And this is what you're going to say. Hey, insert first name. Hey, Chris, check out this podcast, period. I think you're going to get a lot out of it, period. So let me say it back one more time. You're going to find one contractor, one other business owner that you know right now that whether they're crushing it or they're not, truthfully deep down, they need to be more a part of a community. Text them a link to this podcast, and you're going to say, hey, Chris, check out this podcast, period. I think you're going to get a lot of value out of it, period. And then have them text you back. Just say, great. What'd you think of it? I mean, I text you podcasts a good amount, Chris, and like, how often have I sent you one that you were like, wow, that was a waste of time?
Never, because I mean, it's always a different perspective, a different mindset. Oftentimes it is reassuring of, okay, yeah, I'm thinking this way already.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's very much, well, hey, you know what? I never thought about that. Let me dive a little bit more into that. Let me go find out exactly what's going on in Billie Jean's world. Let me find out what's going on right here. I think that it shows that you just care.
And that's the thing is a lot of people say like, oh, well, the Fortune 500 CEOs read a book a week. Have you ever read a book a week in your life, Chris?
No.
No, me neither. Like, I'm not that fast at reading. Like, I just can't,
I'm actually, sitting down, I think I only read one book this year. I think the rest of them have all been audio.
Yeah. And even with this stuff, like, with the audio books or the podcast, you're going to get max maybe 15, 20% of what they're saying because you're driving and listening to this. You're getting ready in the morning, you're listening to this, stuff like that. So, we all recognize that this is not meant to be like, hey, you have to sit down and take notes on all these things. However, the more that you're around it, the more that you're going to stay on top of it. If you're trying to lose weight and you listen to the Jillian Michaels podcast, the trainer from The Biggest Loser, there's a better chance that you're going to lose the weight just because of who you are around.
Yeah, and you're reminded of it consistently.
All the time.
Yeah.
But if you're somebody that cycles in and out, that doesn't listen to, the same things over and over and over, and you listen a little bit here and a little bit there, I mean, that's like, I got a buddy that one of his biggest issues is that sales, he's not that great at selling, and he's like, yeah, I'm just really emotional. Well, the way that you show up to a sales call, how important is it, Chris, in your mind, of how you show up to a sales call?
I mean, for me, it's the reason why I'm successful. I think it's just 100%. Like, you got to be in the right frame of reference or frame of mind. You got to be able to clean sell. So you got to be able to not have something else going on in your world or some other incident you had bogging you down. You got to be able to have energy. You got to be able to just straight up listen. You got to have a willingness to listen. So that idea of where you're at and where you're at mentally is so important. It's make or break.
And what's a good way to stay on top of your game so you're showing up like you should?
Having consistent routine for me.
Yeah.
Because before one of my calls, I write on a sheet of paper. In the very beginning of my calls, I was slow to listen and quick to speak. So top of my sales call paper, I'm writing the 2-3 SEC. 2-3 seconds. All right. After someone says something to me, I'm going to wait 2-3 seconds to let them finish what they have to say versus me just, okay, yeah, great, and moving on to the next point. I mean, now I write it down, just got a habit. I don't think that way anymore, really, because I know that's what I got to do. I know that it's way more important for me to be able to find a real motive of what's going on in someone's world, because I can't assume, oh yeah, you're just dealing with this. No, I want to fully find out what that motive is. And then I want to go a little bit deeper than that too, and go a little bit deeper, because it's just amazing what you find when someone tells you, hey, yeah, man, like, we're just not getting enough leads. Okay, just curious, like, what are you guys doing right now to acquire leads? Oh, we're doing X, Y, and Z. Okay, we're getting some leads right now. I guess what's working? Oh, we're doing this. All right, so what's the overall goal? Like, what are you looking to do? Oh, we're looking to, take care of this. Okay, great. All right, what's the value of that? And then before you know it, you find out this person, is second generation in their family doing this contracting business, super stressed the fact that they're not going to be able to give it to their, next family member, or they've been doing it and all they've known their entire life is just this kind of work. And they feel like they've gone through their entire beginning of their adulthood with just bags on their shoulders. And they don't even know it's a possibility to be able to enjoy other things outside of this world. They're used to Monday through Saturday, some Sundays, working all the time. They don't know there's an environment out there and that there's an opportunity out there for freedom. And you're like, wow, okay. Like, this will change your life, because if you are now working Monday through Friday, you are now able to employ better people that you don't have to worry about going back and spot checking all the time. If you're able to give yourself a pat on the back every once in a while with a vacation with your family and spend real time, that changes your life. So it's super important to just be present there, find out someone's motive, find out what all they can do. And so, yeah, I know I went on a long tangent, but that's it.
That's the first.
First tangent.
That's the first for you going on a long tangent.
No, I think that there's value in being brief, but there's also a lot of value in being able to show compassion, show energy, So I think that it's one of those things where in the sales call, I'm finding at this point, I mean, it's a groove I'm in, but I feel like finding sales are so easy right now. And it's not because I'm good at selling. It's because of the fact that I'm willing to help someone problem solve together with them. I'm willing to look them in the, virtual eyes on this phone call and say, what's really going on? And what do we really want to achieve?
So what you're doing essentially is you're seeking to understand, not seeking just to check off the box to say, well, I asked them about this. You actually are trying to get to the root of the problem and understand it.
Yeah. And then I solve it together, because I know for a fact that if they could solve it on their own, they would have. And if they're calling you, they're asking you to help them solve it. That's exactly what's happening. If they decided to pick up the phone and call you, or decide to answer your phone call and have the conversation, there's a willingness to want to solve the problem. And now you have a responsibility to help them solve the problem if you can. And if you cannot, be very clear that you cannot. Hey, we may not be the best fit for you. Can I offer a little guidance on maybe from what I'm hearing, what may help? But it's just that simple. It's just that simple that I'm helping them solve a problem with them. I'm going down deep with them, and we're going to find out the situation to this together. Can we do this together? Yes, we can. And if we can't do it together with this system, with this scenario, then we're going to have an opportunity to guide you in the best direction. At least we'll be able to find out what's not going to work for us. Because when people think to themselves about posting on Facebook, or people think to themselves about, an EPP website, they straight up think they think, oh, well, this is just a website. But when it comes to confidence, well, hey, that's how I changed my confidence. If I got an issue with being able to tell someone the number and sticking to that, well, this can help that. Or I've got an issue with pre-qualifying people and having a system. Well, this can do that. If I got an issue with people not following my price and me getting upset, and I have a little bit of not necessarily an anger issue, but I have an issue with people who don't follow my process, and I get this jaded idea. Well, this can help you from being jaded. This can help you to be able to now have the systems in place, be able to recruit better, because you're a better looking company. I'm getting better looking employees as well. So we want to find together what's your real issue, and let's see if we can solve it together. If we can, that's great. If we cannot, it's also great, because we have to find out that these are not the right answers, and let's be able to pivot to the right one. So it's all pretty, at this point right now, I feel in a very good groove, and it's simple, because it's just a willingness to listen, a willingness to help solve, and a willingness just to be there and present, because they've already shown you that they want to be able to solve this problem themselves.
Okay. What journey does somebody need to go through to actually want to solve those problems?
I think they have to have a problem, maybe a service level problem that has an underlying issue, and they've got to be able to see a light. They've got to know that there's an opportunity out there. Maybe if they saw somebody else, maybe they just know that this can't be what life's all about. But they got to be able to see a light, and then have a willingness to have someone help, sometimes guide them as well. Because I don't know this to be a fact, but I would be very surprised if life coaches don't have life coaches.
I'm sure most of them do, because they see the value in it.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that any person on the Fortune 500, like any CEO of the Fortune 500 companies, do you think any of them, like with any type of like real significant percentage, don't have a life coach?
No, I'm sure they all have at least somebody that
Yeah.
they hire to like keep them in check.
Yeah. Or they have a mentor program around them, or they go out there and they're having someone keep them accountable. Like we all sometimes need a little bit of guidance. All right. Sometimes I need people around me to remind me who I am. To be able to say, hey, dude, like, no, dude, like this happened before, bro. You're Chris Livingston. You'll be all right. And you remember that. I mean, think about the times when you go home every once in a while, or you go hang out with friends that you just hang out with either from college or people who knew you from high school, who just like maybe know like the genesis of you kind of. And you go around and hang out with them, and you're able to be reminded of just like, okay, yeah, this is who I am, or this is kind of what my place is. And I feel good about it. Think about those times you're able to be around family. You just be able to just like remember those old times and think to yourself, okay, yeah, I'm at the end of the day, I'm a loving person that doesn't have to be jaded by the world around me. I'm a pretty loving person. I'm still a father. You look in your daughter's or son's eyes, you still remember you're a father. Sometimes you got to be reminded of that stuff.
So big takeaway from the event. For me, the community aspect of it. So that's why I'm asking you straight up again. If you have somebody out there, which you all do, whether they know it or not, needs to get into some sort of community that's an uplifting environment.
What if you don't join a community? What happens?
Then essentially what's going to happen is on your deathbed, you're going to look back and you're going to go, fuck, this is what I did. This is all I did. And at that point, it's too late. Or, I asked this question the other day in a group, and I said, if you had found this group 5 years ago, where would you be? And everybody was like, oh, vacationing, somewhere that I can't even pronounced, or I'd be pushing for this much revenue instead of this much revenue. So they'd be so much further along. But what's funny about that is a lot of those same people that are saying that, when you say, well, why don't you invest some money and get there? No. Well, I don't have the time. So it's more of a pipe dream than it is that they actually believe that they can get there. So they're just saying it just to say it because they think that's the right move. But in reality, if they're that, I mean, it's like, people are not embarrassed they're not afraid of failing, because if they're afraid of failing, they would do everything in their power to make sure they don't fail. They're afraid of embarrassment. They don't give a fuck if they fail or not.
What's that thing out there that's like, straight up, everybody wants to be big, but no one lifts this heavy ass weight. Like, what's going to allow them to lift this heavy ass weight? What's going to allow them
to be around people who lift weight?
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing is, you're going to have an A player in a C environment is going to lose to a C player in an A environment. Your environment is literally everything. And I know it's the cliche of, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. You're the average of your 5 closest friends. But like, straight up, like if you are, Chris is 31, I'm 29. If you're somebody who's 50 and you were having these conversations 20 years ago, just like think of where you would be right now, right? Like these things existed that a while ago, but you didn't really know about it until social media. But like, Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, all these people, they've been around for a while. They didn't just come out of the womb 3 days ago. They've been around. So the more that you get engulfed into this stuff and you live in this world, what's going to probably happen is you're going to create a divide between you and your friends and you and your spouse. Because your friends and your spouse who are not listening to this kind of stuff, they're not ready for it. They're good with the status quo. They're okay with the paycheck to paycheck. They're okay with, partying on the weekends. But you are going to be different. You're going to be growing, and that's going to create divisions amongst your friends. Like the people that I grew up, I don't really talk to anybody in high school anymore, really, just because our lives are so different. We don't have anything in common. And I'm not personally interested in changing what I'm interested in at this point to go back to that, because I don't look at it necessarily as a step forward. If everybody who I went to high school with was like, yeah, look, dude, like we're crushing it. We're doing this, we're doing that. I'm like, yeah, let's connect. But like, that's just not always the case. So I'm trying to change my environment more and more to just make sure I stay with the people where their floor, because you got floors and ceilings, their floor is higher than my ceiling, which is their way of going, wow, I can't believe we only did $3 million this year. Like, this is terrible. Well, for me, I'm like, damn, if we did $3 million this year, like that's like above our goal. That's incredible. But if I hang around people where they're like, man, I would love to do $300,000 this year, and that's who I'm hanging around, then my floor is going to drop. Their ceiling's going to grow. Good for them. Bad for me.
If your community is this important to you, if your community dictates who you become, who you are right now, is it crazy to say that your community that you are right now is going to dictate, I guess, what your family lineage is going to look like in 15, 20, 30?
No, it's totally true.
So if your community is that important, why are we not investing in our community? Is it just ignorance behind the value of the community? Is it unwillingness to want to change anything? Is it what's stopping us from being able to prioritize the community that we're around?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Like me specifically?
Yep.
I don't understand the question.
What's stopping us? What's stopping individuals from?
I thought you meant like, Logan, what are you doing to invest back in? I was like, bro, I'm investing a lot. I'm doing it right now. What's stopping us is that a lot of people, we just want to be the status quo. I think deep down we want greatness, but we don't. It's not that we don't necessarily want to do the work to get greatness. It's that we don't truly believe that we can achieve it.
I think a lot of it, I think a lot of it is imposter syndrome. I think a lot of us don't believe that we can move mountains. I think a lot of us still believe that, moving mountains is like, people still don't connect the fact that a movie star, an athlete, a celebrity in their own right, Elon Musk, they legitimately live and breathe just the way you do. Like, you are 100% capable of that. We all, not all of us, but a large amount of us are told growing up, you can be anything you want to be. And then life happens and you start to forget that. You start to believe that you can't. You start to believe that because these things happen to you, then that's great for some other person, but it's not capable for you. But when you forget that, you stop acting in a way as if you can be. Remember when you're a kid and you're on the couch and you got this towel on your back as like a cape and you jump off the couch because you think you can fly? But you stop doing that because of the fact that you start to think that you can't. If people stop thinking they could, then we would never have these SpaceX missions. If we never thought we could, we'd never be sitting here with an iPhone, being able to connect with people that are on the other side of the globe.
So yesterday I was having a conversation with Mike, who's the one that does this podcast that, as he's probably listening to it now, he's like, oh, wow, it's me. And in April, we hit 8,000 downloads. And I said, what's the goal for me? He said 8,500. And we talked yesterday. I was like, nah, that's too small. That's too small of a jump. That's an incremental change. That's like saying I did $1 million last year. I'd like to do 1.1 this year.
And think about this. If you make it if you have an $8,000 number right now, and you say your next goal is 8,500, think about the energy, effort, the innovation you're going to put in order to get to that. You're going to think it's just going to happen by happenstance.
Yes and no. So to me, like because you still got to grow.
Yeah.
And if you're going to, like whether you grow big or you grow little, it's still hard. It's still hard to grow. So the amount of time that you're going to put into going from 8,000 to 8,500 is very similar to the amount of time that you're going to put in from 8,000 to 10,000, but the way that you go about it is what's going to be different. So Mike is still going to have to push to increase the number of downloads.
What's the innovation that's going to happen?
Correct. And that's where Mike's thinking time is, so then he spent time yesterday going, okay, if we're going to get to 10,000, I'm going to have to do things a little bit differently. This is how I'm going to do it. So he's still taking the same amount of time, but the difference is the approach, because he stopped and he said, how do we make that happen? And that's no different than what we're all doing with business. If you want to go from 1 million to 1.1, you still got to push. You still got to, do the things that it's going to take you to grow. But you're going to take the same amount of time as if your goal was to go from 1 million to 1.5. But it's just the way that you're going to go about it is very, very different. So we'll leave it on that. If you're trying to get to the next level, do it first by helping somebody else get there and help Mike get to the 10,000 downloads. Send this out to one person. Again, hey, Chris, check out this podcast. I think you'd like it a lot. Period. You good?
Good, brother.
All right. Thanks, guys.